Social media day here, and I wanted to save one of the best for last for you here. This guy out here has a huge heart. He is a superhero across many communities. That's exactly a little hearts there for you. He is a small business strategy coach, an amazing podcaster, the host of the Independent Podcasters Summit that takes place every year, and just got a passion for helping people to succeed. And so we're honored to have, you may know him as Joe. I know him as Super Joe Pardo. Joe, glad to have you here on Social Media Day 2022, buddy.
Thank you so much for having me, Super Scott. I greatly appreciate it. It's fun. It's fun to get to talk about social media and connecting and building relationships because it's at the end of the day, that's what this is all. To me, that's what it's all about. It's been about that since '96 when I started blogging. Building relationships with people and connecting great people to other great people. So I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no problem. And I think that's been a lot of the overwhelming theme with everybody that's spoken on here is people. It's not the spray and pray kind of aspect of marketing. It's really the more you use social media to build relationships and build it deeper versus wider, the more fruitful it is, the more effective it is. And honestly, I think more the closer the connection, and then also more business takes place that way in a lot of cases, I think, too, as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it gives you a window, or gives other people a window into stuff that isn't necessarily directly marketing, depending how you want to handle it. But I think it's a good opportunity to show the more human side of a business, the more human, whether you are the business or if the business is a business. A great example of that is like Wendy's, right? It's not a person, but it is known for how it handles its social media. And it does it very skillfully and tactfully.
Yes, a little tongue in cheek sometimes, but it definitely does it very tactfully. It's hilarious to follow that and see what's going on in the burger business in a lot of cases. Now, Joe, with you working with small business owners and being an entrepreneur yourself, what are some of the things that really drive you bonkers that you see that people aren't doing or are doing? You're like, oh, no, don't do that. Do this. What are a couple of the top three things maybe?
Yeah, I think the number one thing on that list, by in a way that I can impart some knowledge to people, is respond to the negative. Respond to it respectfully, in a way that doesn't paint you in a negative light. The person that wrote something negative doesn't necessarily care what your response is, but the people that read it definitely will care, right? And there's going to be a lot less people that care, like, to get down that road, but the people that do are going to be that much more connected and that much more tied to you and that much more likely to want to work with you because they see that you did something that shows that you care, instead of just ignoring or God forbid you delete somebody's negative comment. I like, when it comes to YouTube, I'll use the hide this comment and hide this user, which hides the comment. That way they don't know that they're being hidden, because God forbid they found out, they would just, a landslide of trash that you'd have to deal with. But so that would be number one on my list, is respond to the negative in a way that paints you in a direction and paints an opinion, somebody's opinion of you, that you actually care, even if that person will not care, will not respond, will not take any further action than leave either a negative comment, negative review. The second would be get positive comments and get positive reviews. I say, like, because social media, I think also encompasses online reviews as well, especially like on sites that you can respond to. Unfortunately, Amazon does not allow you to do that anymore. It drives me up a wall knowing that Amazon has taken the ability for you to respond to comments, or to reviews, but it's, to me, really, really, really important that you're taking the time to get people to interact with you online, because an example of this, a friend of mine runs a pressure washer company here in Jersey, and One morning they woke up and all of a sudden, now this isn't directly social media, but it could be easily social media.
Sure.
All of a sudden, all of their reviews on all their star ratings on like across Google, Yelp, blah blah blah, went from like 4.8s or whatever down to like ones because somebody had paid for on like Fiverr to have them review bombed, and it took months for them to be able to get those taken off. And it's quite obvious. Like if you actually read it, it's like every person has an Indian name. They're all at the same time. We're in Jersey. I mean, it just is like it's not like it's very clear that there's something wrong, right? Because there's too many reviews all at once, and they're all negative, and almost none of them had anything written in them.
Yep.
Or if there was something, it was very generic. So the way to counter something like that is go out of your way, get those positive reviews, get those positive comments and interactions. And I'm noticing it even in YouTube world, like to bring it to specifically to social media. Like I leave some of my comments, some of my negative comments there. Because I know that as long as they're not super rude, but because when now I see because I wanted people to see them, in the future and be like, oh, wow, look how Joe responded to like his person called him this and this and this, or said this about his show or whatever. And look how Joe responded, right? Joe said, I appreciate you watching and commenting, and maybe a little bit more, but generally I try not to leave the window open too much because like I'm not the comeback guy, and I know I'm not the comeback guy. So like I'm not gonna be Wendy's on social media. Like I wish I was. I wish I could be. I wish I could be that guy, but I'm not, and I'm not going to pretend to be that guy.
Well,
so
you don't want to argue with idiots. It doesn't make sense. You can never win an argument with an idiot or somebody who's crazy. And we've seen
not your audience,
exactly
right? Not your audience, and that's so imperative that like when you get bigger in social media. As you get bigger, you're going to have your stuff branch and cross over into other planes that may or may not get what you do. Like, they might not like what you do. They might not resonate with what you do. And that can create a huge, swath of negative comments coming your way. So, go out of your way to nurture those, because unless you're bringing something so like I gotta have it to the table. A great example of this is like Casey Neistat. He was interviewed by Nas Daily like 3, 4, or 5 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago. And his response was like, oh, I didn't create this term, but like I love it. It's called post and ghost. And he's like, I want to read the comments. There's some amazing comments in there, but I can't because there's so many negative comments. Like the negative ones cut so deep that I can't deal with it. And the thing about Casey though, is the amount of painstaking work that went to the art that he created is like, it doesn't matter if you liked it or not. It worked, right? It worked, and it worked for enough people that one person, a handful of people, 100 people saying that this is garbage or whatever is not going to make a difference. But we're not all at that level, and we're not all there, and we're not all creating art to a level of like, wow, how did like he take something so simple and turn it into an 8-minute, 10-minute video, that's revered as art, basically. So the whole like post and ghost thing, I personally don't like that because I don't think that we're all creating art to that level, right, where people are like, oh wow, I have to like, I want to know like what happens to him today, like every day, he's posting daily or whatever. So I don't know. I don't know if it's good enough to be able to do that and still foster a community. Some people can get away with it. Some people are cool enough to do that. I don't believe that I am. So, it's not that I'm not going to try, but I'd rather try from a place of what I do know at best, which is letting people know how much I appreciate them. And even when they have not nice things to say, because maybe they've never heard that they were appreciated before.
Sure.
and it might make a difference. And it has made a difference in at least some people's lives, or they've written comments that it changed their mind and they wanted to be involved because they're like, wow, I didn't think you would even read this. Like, I just wrote some nasty shit because why not?
I was having a bad day,
Yeah, right.
You never know what kind of hell or where somebody is at too, is like, because a lot of people, we've had dealt with stuff like that, and people, you're like, you feel for folks, they're having their own personal hell, and you're in the crosshairs for the moment or the minute or the week or whatever it is, and you just have to kind of, okay. In Texas, we have a saying called "bless your heart." You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
yes, you do.
Bless your heart.
Yes,
you're having a rough day. We feel for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, so that those are the two things that I think are really key, and then also make sure you respond to even the positive ones,
yep.
That are let them know that you are reading it, that you are engaged with it. I know one of the things I do is I cherry pick comments, and then I read them at the end of each of my videos, and so it's like the people that are super fans are going to love, they love that, but I still make sure that I respond to people, because I don't know that they're going to watch every video. Right. And you just don't know where people are coming in at when they're, and where they're what path they're taking through your content. Sure. And so I think it's important that you respond to those comments. And if you're too cool for school for that, then I mean, that's fine. I do understand that it probably gets to a place where you're not capable of being able to respond to every comment and everything. And there's plenty of comments that I admittedly have not responded to. And part of that is because I don't necessarily agree with what the comment said. It's not super rude to me, but it might not be the nicest of comments. And
sure.
Sometimes I'll just say, I appreciate you watching and commenting and move on. But I don't want to just write that for every comment that comes through either, that I don't necessarily agree with. But I do appreciate them watching, and being a part of it, even if in a small way.
Now, you really have set about a lot of comments of what we're talking about here. You started doing something on your YouTube channel that really drew a lot of attention. Can you kind of backtrack to your mindset and your plan to drive engagement to your YouTube channel, to help share with what you're doing? Because it's really a unique thing that you're doing. And I think if folks understand, they'll understand why you do get great comments and also why you get trolls and stuff like that. So can you share kind of your plan for what you do with your YouTube channel?
Yeah. So one thing I like to do is I love to watch YouTube. I watch more YouTube than I watch TV. And that's, even movies come to a second. Like, I don't get to watch as many movies as I'd like to watch. And I probably watch 1 to 3 movies a week. Which I'd rather watch a movie, because if it sucks, it's over in an hour and a half. If it's great, it awesome. It was an hour, an hour and a half, 2 hours, versus like, oh, this TV show is amazing. Scott, you got to watch this TV show. It's going to be crazy, but you got to watch like 5 episodes. Okay. How long is it? Well, it's an hour long each episode. So I got to watch 5 hours before I decide if it's good or not. Like, I don't have a lot of time like that. I'd rather watch 3 bad Nick Cage movies, honestly, because I love Nick Cage, and at least I know I'm going to enjoy what I'm watching, even when it's terrible. So anyway, I watch a lot of YouTube, and I love taking and/or quote unquote stealing other ideas from other industries, other niches. What's popular now? How can I take that and adapt it to something that I'm able to bring to my business audience, right? And so for me, like, I've been watching, reaction videos have been around for a while, a couple of years, but they really blew up thanks to the pandemic, because people were home, they're feeling lonely, and they get to watch videos with what become your favorite commenters because they're funny or whatever. And even me and my wife will lay in bed and we'll watch 1 or 2 or 3 YouTube videos, and most of them are commenting videos from a couple different YouTubers that we watch. And I was like, how can I adapt this? And I love so I did a YouTube video / it was supposed to be a TV show called The Top of Super Joe Pardo back in 2019, where I went to a small business owner, spent the whole day with them. We ended up cleaning out their whole garage.
I remember the episode. Yep.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And I loved doing it. And the problem with trying to do that during the pandemic was like no one was like trying to, do we do the thing? Like, I'm in Jersey, so it was a little different than like other parts of the country. And I wasn't about to get on a plane to go find out because my son has a breathing condition. So I was like, I'm not trying to like roll the dice on that one. He's 2. So like, let's at least get him to, 50 or 60. And then we, go from there. But, so I was like, how can I do this where, I could make something that's compelling, not just a talking head interview or something to that effect. And I was like, all right, well, I could do like the Profit reaction videos, Shark Tank reaction videos. And I did the Profit and it was fine. But the fact that matters, like, people weren't searching for the Profit, right? People were searching for Shark Tank. And so I was like, so I started doing it at the end of 2020, and by March of 2021, I started taking it really serious, like doing 5 videos a week. I had the whole like process really down, and then I integrated like the newest episodes of Shark Tank into it, where the night that it's airing was the night that I'm filming, so that I could post it while peak searchability is going on for these companies. And, part of the problem with that is these companies are all in different niches, right? These companies are all, they're all in different fields, and different people are looking for them, different demographics. So you get people of all walks and shapes and sizes from all over the world that are looking for these videos, and they can't find them anywhere except there, because in some cases they couldn't even pay for them, because depending on where they live, they just can't get it. So it creates a vacuum, an opportunity for me to be able to provide the video, provide the commentary, demonstrate my expertise in business strategy and operation strategy and marketing strategy and all that, and foster yet another community that I get to, that is vastly different than my podcasting community ever was, which was majority was women in their like 40s and 50s. So that, I thought, oh wow, like I'm gonna get lots of like that, like more of that, right? And as it turned out, like it's moving towards women, but it's still like 80-20. So it's 80% male, which doesn't pay as well on the YouTube
algorithms.
What's it called? The revenues, like, it's not very good for the 18 to 40-year-old male, as it is apparent. Like, I have a friend who has way less views, way less following, but she has 40-year-old females and 40, 50-year-old females, and she's making like 4 times the revenue that I am per milli. So yeah, I would love to capture that mark. And we're moving towards that. It was a 90-10 split, and it's moved up to 90 or to 80-20. I've had it as close to like 23% women. So it's moving in the right direction from that regard. But it also, when you talk about revenue, is like, it also depends on what country, people are watching from. I mean, 54% of my audience is in the US, but which I've been told is pretty high, but when you're just not making as much from a lot of those other countries, and it's fine. It all comes together. It's all working together. And it's great. I appreciate anybody watching and enjoying the videos, and learning, because like I'm always trying to learn too. I'm watching them to learn just as much as they're watching to learn. The difference is I've been around business my entire life, and I've been working in this my family, where I'm at right now, in this family business, since I was like 6. So almost 30 years now. So it's incredible to think like that, to have that like ability to say that. But it's the reality that I've lived. And it's the reality that I want to use to be able to teach other people and bring that R word back in relationships, because that's really what to me it's all about. It's just building those relationships. It's the real currency. It's the real currency that actually fills me up. Like the money's cool and the money helps pay, because like I got real bills. Like they're not fake bills. I get real kids. They need to eat, right? Someday they might go to college or something. Like all that might be a thing. But to me, when I think about life, like I think about like what is the relationships and all of the amazing people that I've gotten to meet and all that. And like we were talking before about like our trips to Europe and stuff. Some of the most important things that I remember from that trip was the people that I met while eating in Barcelona at a tapas restaurant on the street, and they were from, I want to say, Norway or Sweden, one of those Nordic countries. And yeah, like to me, that's as important as going to see the Coliseum.
Mm-hmm.
If not more, because I got to learn so much about them and their background and how they live and how Barcelona is their favorite city. And like, that's just awesome to me.
Yeah, no, I totally agree to that. It's all about the relationships. And I think you've tweaked it a little bit. So just going after reaction videos, you've actually have started interviewing folks that have been on Shark Tank and talking with them. You want to? Were you reaching out to Shark Tank attendees originally, or did they happen to reach out to you, or how did that kind of transition?
So for the most part, they have reached out to me. The first one, I still haven't even had her on the show yet. She reached out to me like not long after I got started, and we talked on the phone for like, I don't know, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Had a wonderful conversation. We text back and forth. She's just been super busy. She was on super early, like season 2 of Shark Tank. But she says it was still season 1 when they actually filmed. But I guess that's when they changed the set to well, not today, but the modern set versus like the season 1 set was, They were at like a desk or something. It was weird. I've had I had a couple reach out, and then after a while, like I was like, why don't I just make the call to action, have them reach out to me? Like I know that majority of them are seeing it, because every person that has reached out to me has said basically the same thing, that their cousin, their aunt, their friends, they Googled it, they found the video, they're like, you got to watch this. Even I just had the lady from Shono, the show No Towel, that was on Lori's first episode, where she actually got a check for $50,000. I just got to interview her. That was a couple weeks in the making, because we messed up scheduling and all that. But I got to learn so much about her and the background, and like more about the story than I can even give in the interview, with just because I just out of good conscious, I guess. And I get to build these relationships with these people. So, I put the call to action out there. I mean, I've done 34 of them so far, and I actually just got another one that just scheduled earlier today. So, a lot of times they're like really busy, but the ones that are really cool, like the ones that are really cool to me, well, they're all really cool, but the ones that are a little bit more cooler than others are the ones where I post the video on Friday night at like 11 p.m. Eastern, or 10 p.m. Eastern, after the show just aired, right? 9:30. And then they're reaching out to me by the next morning to come on the show that week. And it's like, I know they're busy. Like their sales are going to like, they're ding, 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 like all the, the phone does not stop. And they're like, I got to reach out to this guy, Joe, and come on and have a conversation. And I, speaking of comments, I got a couple of comments over the last, I don't know, year or so of like, hey, stop asking for them to come on. Nobody's going to waste their time to come on your show. And I'm like, well, I appreciate you watching and commenting, but like, here's the playlist with like 30 of them. I don't reach out to. Now, there was a time in the very, very, very beginning, before I was doing the call to action in the video, I was sending it to them like in their Instagram or something like that, their DMs. And some of them would get back to me. Some of them wouldn't, it's just, which the way I see it is like you attract the people that you're supposed to attract, and the people that aren't, they're just not going to be they're just not going to be for you.
Right.
So,
right.
So yeah.
Cool. Now, how's your success with that? How has that transitioned into what you're coaching and teaching other entrepreneurs out there, small business? What's kind of your lessons learned, and say, hey, here's an opportunity for you to do that. How can you implement that success, or something you learned, like, hey, don't do this, the good and the pros and cons of that?
Well, so when you set out to do something, I mean, we always talk about, knowing your audience, building your avatar, your ideal customer and all that. The thing is I kind of, and I do have that audience there, but the audience isn't quite well, even like with my podcast where I was like, oh, I think I'm going to talk to, young, like 18, like 15 to 18-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old, boys and girls, with my original show, podcast back in 2014, and ended up being 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old, women, which is awesome. Like, that's great. But like, that's not who I meant it to reach, because that the dynamic, starts to change. The conversation starts to change in the show and things like that. So, for me, I actually, how it's changed is I've gotten to a point where I have a couple programs I'm going to be putting together. I keep saying it. I need to actually, I've been so busy here with the shop, because I just came back in March, and it's been pretty much go. I want to put together some group programs and things like that are on the lower end to reach that 18 to 25-year-old who can afford, $15, $20 a month or something to that effect. Who is looking to do their own startup. Cause that's I don't want to say it's the bread and butter of the channel, but cause there are actual business owners who do watch the channel. They just don't comment as often, which, when you think about, it's funny. I remember talking to somebody about my podcast demographic, and I'm like, well, most of the people that have ever reached out to me about my show are female and are above 40 years old. So that was a good chunk of who I presumed was also listening to the show. But somebody pointed out to me, like, Joe, the reason that's who's reaching out to you is because guys won't. Some of them will, and I know a couple of them I know listen to the show, but guys just won't. And it kind of makes sense when you look at the comments in on YouTube, and it's I don't have the female audience that I thought that I had on the other end of it, on the podcasting end from years back. But having that younger audience is look, now I just need to put offers that are there for them. So while my hope originally going into this was okay, we're gonna, share Shark Tank, things people care about. They show it on CNBC, a heck of a lot. Somebody's watched, how many 18-year-olds are watching CNBC?
Right.
I mean, maybe more now that the pandemic created the whole retail, stock market trader to on steroids. But probably not as much as CNBC would probably like. So I would, so I look at that and I say, okay, let's change some of that thinking to, or that those offers to be geared more towards that, right? The person who's doing the startup and really feels like they got a lot they want to learn, need to learn. But it has to be at the right price point. It's got to be the right time for me, because I gotta, I had to be able to justify the time as well. So I've gotten a couple clients out of doing it that are higher end, $200 an hour range clients, but not as much as I would hope, not as much as I thought I would. But again, you look at the audience and it's oh, this makes perfect sense. It's not hitting enough of that upper age male for whatever reason, right? So just putting together the right offers now, I think is really important for those. So yeah, so it just has to be a scale, enough of a scalable group type of situation that, and at a low enough price point that doesn't, isn't laughable. But I mean, I think even at $15-20 a month, like that's a lot for an 18-year-old to come up with it when they're trying to like get their business off the ground. Maybe they're working Uber or whatever, whatever they're doing to like be able to pay for living, let alone like getting their business idea to be a reality. So it's just things like that. And then I think that if you look at, you go and you look at the data, the data will actually tell you who is and who isn't watching and paying attention. So I wish more people would comment. It would be nicer. It would help the channel more. I don't generally ask for comments or anything. Like I just read the comment at the end of the video and then I push them to the next video. And I think so it's even gotten to a point, Scott, where like I've seriously have considered, because of the time constraints that I have between here at the shop, family, that business, independent podcast conference, where I'm just kind of like, if I could just pump out videos, like it wouldn't really be that much. I'm not that far away from making enough money a month. I mean, I am, but only because my bills are way beyond what like $6,000 a month would be able to net, to be able to bring in, plus pay taxes on top of that, pay for insurance out of pocket, like all those things, like they all factor into it. So, but at $2,000 to $3,000 a month, like how many videos a month am I really away from being able to push, and then maybe doing some evergreen like Shark Tank videos that like kind of bring people in, and doing some more shorts and things like that, where that will help the channel. I mean, the channel's still growing, even though the only videos I've put out since Shark Tank ended back in May is interviews, and I've done one every 2 weeks just to keep it maintained. Sure. Because I've been working on a new video format, vertical video format, which I think is different. But when I look again, you go back and look at the analytics, 70% of my views come from phones. So when people complain like, oh, the video is too small, or like, the Shark Tank video is too small, it's like, well, it's not too small, but it is if you're looking on a 4 or 5 inch screen, it's going to be tiny.
Yeah.
So look at the stats, and get an idea of like what actual people, not just what you think is going to be is reading your stuff or watching your stuff, consuming your stuff. Who is it actually? And then start to look at like, okay, how can we adjust to that, or adjust our messaging? Like I could, pivot, but like at this point I have a good thing going, to the point, like I said, like if I put in a little more work into the channel, like I could take it and probably very easily get to $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month, and that would be awesome. That would be great, right? Like that would alleviate a lot of debt and a lot of
well, that's a 6-figure
concern.
That's right.
Exactly. Right. So it's like, how, like, what do I have to do to get there? Like I could hire somebody, right? Like I could hire an editor. I've had people reach out, but to me, when I'm only doing, say, comfortably between $1,000 to $3,000 a month, most months are between 1 and 2. Is it really make sense to pay someone $1,000 a month with the hope that things are going to be like, oh wow, like look how much it's taken off from here?
Well, we've always found that, and we heard a few people say that too, is we don't want to pay people to learn on our dime. You know what I mean? And that's the thing too. That hits it.
Well, my wife offered to do the videos, not shoot the videos, but to edit the videos, maintain the channel and stuff. But since she left her job when I came back here in March, she's been so busy with projects at home, like and now it's summertime and the kids are home all day. So yeah. I'm just like, I'm not even trying to like push that in her direction, because she's just handling so much at the house that I'm just like, it's okay. I'll get to it when I get to it. And it's cool. The channel still grows anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's the beautiful thing is with YouTube and stuff like that. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 a year. Algorithms pushing views, pushing subscribers, pushing people to what you're putting out. And so,
because they want the views, they want exactly. They want those subscription, their premium subscriptions and stuff. I'll tell you, I don't subscribe to other like I really don't subscribe to many, actually pretty much any subscription based things. I pay for YouTube Premium because I watch so much that I just got tired of seeing the ads. I was like, it's just not worth it. It's not worth almost 30, 15 seconds on this ad, or 15 seconds on this ad, and then 5 seconds on the next ad, and then I have to make the click with all the mid rolls, like for $11 a month. Like, oh god, it's so much. I literally put it up on my TV here in the office, and I'll just play like documentaries and stuff all day that I'm like half listening to.
Yep, it's worth it. I totally agree there. Well, that's the thing is, going back to when you're talking about your subscription, I know somebody's got a $7 a month subscription with 1 million subscribers to it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing to think about, that there is a place for that low dollar, affordable thing that people are like, it's worth it. I get something out of it. I've got some of those that we subscribe to, $15 a month for a newsletter that a couple podcasters, Joe Fier and Matt Wolf, put out. They just stopped delivering it, but it was something I was using. And then others out there, it's something out there, and that's a great starting point. If you can add content, add value to somebody, hey, it's not hard to fill $7 worth of content space. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I want to make it as valuable as possible, and part of the well, if the base price is 20, then I will be doing sales at like 10, right? I'll be doing sales at like 10, 12, $15 or something to that effect, and I don't mind doing it. The problem I've run into is doing things like that where you don't have a ton of people sign up for it out of the gate, and it's like I'm doing a lot more work for like 10 people, and I'm making like $100 a month, and it's like, oh yeah, no, like maybe I need to roll back that like a little bit. And I've done that to the point, like even with Indie PodCon, because we have the Indie Pod University, and I've tried all kinds of different models with that, and the model that has worked the best is like one upfront fee of per year, like it's per year. I want to say it's $100 a year, so it's $7 whatever a month, and that just it's an easy sale, and I don't have to even really do much for it. I just, when we do new videos for Indie Pod, like I just upload them into the site, and then there was supposed to be a Facebook group. I pruned all that back because like that means I got to create content for something that doesn't sell that often. It doesn't have some 1,000 member subscription or something like that. Would be phenomenal, but hey, God has a plan, right? Everything happens for a reason, and sometimes we just do the things, and it's just not meant to be the thing that we're supposed to be doing. And that was one of the lessons that, speaking of Shono, Shelly, she had to learn the hard way that like, her towel was not meant to be the thing that she wasn't going to be a towel queen. I don't know if that's sounds like a weird thing to say.
Hashtag shout towel queen.
Yeah, right. So, but the thing is she has inspired so many people from her story, from her story, pre Shark Tank and post Shark Tank, right? So those are the types of things that can make such a big difference in other people's lives, rather than just the towel. And I don't want to say just the towel, because that's not, it's more than just the towel, especially to her. But
right.
I'll add that's one of the, I know I get comments from time to time about how I'm too soft on the people who are on Shark Tank. Oh, you're always trying to be too nice. Blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, well, they're real people. Like, they're not on there playing. Right. This isn't Jerry Springer where so-and-so really isn't so-and-so, and that's not really their situation. This is a real life. That's their life. That's their life, in their mind, maybe life's purpose. Life, it's like we have to look at it as a human being, and you're only seeing 8 minutes of an hour, 45 minutes to an hour and a half, sometimes more, time on the carpet. So it's, it's like to try and grill somebody on something that's like, well, you didn't see the whole picture, Joe. So it's like, okay, but sometimes if you read between the lines, you get that I'm like, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical, but we'll see. and then I
Well,
don't hear from the people.
and well, that's the thing is you don't lose cool points for being kind. I think that we need more of that. Everybody likes to jump online and be rude and ugly, and we've seen that happen. You see that happen on YouTube. You see that happen on social media. You see that in groups. Yeah, the keyboard warriors. We don't need those. Look, and I think that's part of what social media has been great is that you're able to connect with people. It also gives people this wall behind to feel that they can throw insults and be a troll when they just don't need to be. And I get being honest with somebody and hey, not blowing smoke up somebody's tail. But the point is, hey, as Russ Johns said just on a previous episode here, so you don't lose cool points for being kind, and smiles are free. I think you're going to always attract more. You're going to attract more business with honey than vinegar. You know what I mean? And so
the people that you want to be, right? Again, you're the actual people that are going to care, that are going to spend money with you, that'll buy your books or buy, tickets to an event or, that's the kind of stuff like, you're going to that. And that's the thing. So as you reach that bigger audience, right, you get through, as I kind of alluded to before, you're going to hit people, you're going to hit patches of people that don't like what you're doing so much that they're going to say something. How you respond is super important, because I've turned people into subscribers from that, even though they were like really not kind at all.
Right.
And I feel like it enables me to let it go a lot easier by disarming them, by just being the kind person that they haven't seen, and then if they don't feel that way, they aren't my audience anyway. So
that's right.
It's okay.
And that's okay. If they're not your audience, they're not your ideal client. I think more people need to realize that not everybody is their cup of tea. And instead of trying to make everybody happy, which you'll never will, make the people that are your tribe, are your subscribers, are the true people you want to make them happy, and you'll be a lot happier, right?
I watched a video. Who was it? I forget who did it. I want to say it was CoffeeZilla, but I know it's not CoffeeZilla. This video talked about why the people that we see as like business gurus, and we look at them and we say, oh wow, what a joke, right? Because they're over the top, they're doing things that they're flaunting all the money, the this, that, and the third. And the reason is because it's all top funnel, right? It's all about like, you're going to have all these people that hate you. Maybe they share it with 8 people that, and one of those 8 people doesn't see, like, oh, wow, like, look at what's going on here. Like, how cool is this? Like, regardless of how real or unreal it actually is. And that's one of the things I try to pride myself on is being as real about everything as I possibly can. Like, I don't shoot in some big mansion or green screen. Like, it's my studio. My studio is in my garage. I have 2 young kids, and a dog, and they're they're 2 doors away from me. Right. And it's important that I'm able to do it in quiet, in peace, right? So I'm not getting disturbed and having to stop and start and all that. So I try to make my studio as nice as possible, but sometimes you get people that are like, oh, how could he be a super entrepreneur if he's he's just sitting here in his garage? Like, yeah, my garage, like, yeah,
it's because because I don't pay for stupid shit. You know what I mean? It's the Millionaire Next Door model. The Millionaire Next Door, if you've read that book, driving a late model Ford F-150 pickup, ain't driving a Lamborghini around. You know what I mean? Or with, it's not like Ty Lopez showing up with the least Lamborghini and 12 people that are interns. It's just, there's something to be said about that blue collar mentality. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's one of your strengths. And I think people identify, hey, if Joe's doing this, he's a guy I can relate with. I'm not going to be embarrassed to talk with him. He's somebody who's literally giving content and true value. And telling it like it is, which without being ugly, and that's a beautiful thing in today's world, Joe.
Well, I appreciate that. Have you watched? There's a guy Nicholas something on Instagram. He does the rich versus really rich.
I haven't seen. I'll take a look at it.
Oh God, I'll have to send it to you. It's so Funny. Oh man. So Nicholas Crown, Rich versus Really Rich. And he does the like it's like is he so it's, he plays like the rich guy who like is just the corporate guy who has like 2 or 3 bosses above him anyway and all that. And he's the real asshole to everybody. And then he also plays the really rich guy who's kind of like, it's how it really is. And the people that I know that are really rich, I could just be like, F it, I don't really care. Like, I just don't care. Like, I'm not gonna, it doesn't bother me one way or the other. What anybody thinks. The way he plays it is so it's so funny and so damn true. Well, so true. I will send it to you.
I appreciate that, definitely. Well, Joe, thank you for being real. What's the best way for those that are watching us, listening, to connect with you, to find out more information? What's the best place for folks to go?
Yeah, my website, joepardo.com.
joepardo.com. We'll put that in the show notes, everybody. Joe, thanks so much for coming on Social Media Day 2022, delivering some amazing nuggets. Just being real, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott. I really, really appreciate it. It's good to get some of these things off my mind and being real, like, not making $1 million off of YouTube. Hey, this shit takes time, every day, brick by brick, person by person, relationship by relationship. It really it does take time. And even when, soon I'll be at 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and hooray. But, it's funny, like, people don't see all the other numbers that go behind it, where it's like, there might only be like let's say only. I don't saying only. I don't mean only when I said only. There might only be 7,000 people there, but or subscriber number there. But like, when you look in the numbers, it's like 20 to 30,000 returning viewers. Yeah. So like, there's a good chunk of people that just don't know how to find the subscribe button. And I'm not even asking them to subscribe. So I don't really care. Just keep watching the videos. The algorithm will trust in the algorithm.
The one thing I did that helped me, because that's the same thing. I've got 6,300 subscribers, and we've really done well. We had 4 to 5 new subscribers a day. But what I did is I went and changed my link. I added the subscribe aspect of it.
At the end of the video?
At the end of my, instead of just WeCloseNotes whatever my channel is, I add the subscribe, the one subscribe thing to it. So when I say, hey, check out my channel, it pops up the subscribe button. And we see every day we're adding that. And that was just one little thing that made it very easy, because they're going to my channel, they're going to watch a video, they're probably going to want to subscribe. So we just made it simple that way. And that helped out. It's helped out tremendously on that stuff. So we don't see so
many little things like that, man, that you can do. If you have bingeability, like, get people into, it's a funnel, right? Get people into that funnel of like, what, like at the end, like, hey, watch this video because blah, blah, blah. Cause you're going to want to know that, or you're going to want to know, if you wanted to know this, and from this video, then you're really going to want to know this. But I would suggest also having another video, YouTube recommended as well, because otherwise, like, people have already maybe watched that, like, especially if then they're like dead in the water. So
those are good stuff.
Yeah. Plenty of stuff.
It is. Joe, have a great weekend, buddy, and we'll see you.
You too. Happy 4th of July.
You too, buddy. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Scott.